Hey guys, it's Cayley. I'm back with another What Sold From Last Week video. In today's video, I will be diving into sales on three platforms, which are eBay, Poshmark, and Depop. I cross-post things onto all of these platforms using Nifty. As you guys know, I focus on sourcing with many different strategies, such as high sell-through rate brands, what you would call bolos. I also look for bolos and style-based pieces, and I also do some factor stacking, so you'll see a mix of both. I had a really great week last week, and I'm really happy that I started consistently cross-posting to Depop because it has started to become a very regular part of my sales. Let's dive in and I'll show you. All right, so the sales we're going over happened between November 23rd through the 29th. In total, I sold 177 items for gross item sales of slightly under $5,700. My item ASP was close to $29, much lower than normal. I'll explain why here in a second, but still a good ASP for us considering a lot of the stuff we do get from the bins. On eBay, I sold 79 items. On Poshmark, I also sold 79 items, which was really cool. On Depop, I sold 19 items, which for me is amazing. Like I said, we're starting to have stuff ship out on Depop pretty much every day, and it's been really cool to see. Last week, a main reason that Poshmark was bumped up was because on Thanksgiving, which is typically a very slow day for me, usually people are with their families, they're not really shopping online. I decided that I would run a sale on Poshmark, and I was scrolling through some of the features and noticed the My Shoppers tool, which I have not used in a while. So I decided that I was going to use it and see if I could generate some sales. So I added a bunch of likes to bundles and then sent out offers on those bundles, which means even if there was one item liked, they got notified in their bundle and was sent an offer. So I sold plenty of bundles. I moved quite a bit of older items that had been sitting. And so big jump on Poshmark. I think we had an over $700 sales day on Poshmark, which I've not seen there in a while. So that was really cool, and that strategy seemed to work. I'm going to try it again and see how it goes, but that is also why I sold so many items on Poshmark and why also my ASP was drugged down quite a bit because of that. But super happy. Always happy to have sales, especially when it's moving older items. So split was pretty good between all of these. My gross sales on eBay were a little over $3,100. On Poshmark, they were just over $2,000. And then my gross sales on Depop were about $531. My ASP on eBay, as usual, was the highest one, and it was around $33. On Poshmark, my ASP was around 26, and on Depop, my ASP was around 28. Have tons of great stuff to show you. Bolos, some new brands you've probably never heard of. I know I hadn't heard of them, as well as some bread and butter and style-based pieces. So let's dive in to these individual items. I'm going to start with eBay, move into Poshmark, and then I'll finish up with Depop sales in case you want to skip around to the platform that you like. But in my opinion, all of these items are pretty trendy on all platforms. I find that the buyers on one platform are the same buyers on another platform with a few small tweaks. So this first one is a Nike item, which you don't see me show a whole lot. I don't pick up a ton of Nike, although I do come across a ton of Nike. But anytime I see something that looks techy, they have like a tech line or anything that looks just different, I always look up the style or do a Google Lens because sometimes it can be a more rare piece. This would be the case with this. We got this from the bins. My average cost of goods at the bins is $1.50. And so assume that's the cost of goods for anything I say we got from the bins. So this was a Nike men's Rafa Nadal tennis short. And we listed this for $60, which is crazy high for pre-owned Nike shorts. So again, if you see anything that looks just slightly different, I do think Nike is a brand that has a lot of hidden gems. This one we listed for $60. It sold on an offer to watcher for $51. And this one actually only took 8 days to sell. So super quick flip. Next up, this one is more of a style-based piece, not a brand that you want to look for, but this is a vintage men's cardigan, and you've seen me put out tons of videos. This is what to look for in fall. This is what I look for in winter. Men's cardigans for many, many years have always been on that list, and I love style-based sourcing men's cardigans. You can like really price them up for certain features. This one was kind of in the middle, more on the higher tier, but this is a Hunt Club men's very thick cardigan. It was also a larger size. It was blue, very sought after color in cardigans. It had the striping detail, the cable knit, all of those factors stacked on top of each other made me believe that I could price this thing up. So I included keywords like vintage, thick, tennis, and varsity. I listed this one again for $50. It sold for my full asking price of $50. I only paid $4.99 for this, and this one took a few months to sell. Next up, the next two items actually sold in a bundle. I've been having a lot of bundles on eBay, and most of them are my Y2K stuff. So I think I'm developing, not that I didn't already, but I'm developing more of a Y2K base. And because they're buying, those vintage pieces from my store, or even just style based, not even vintage, that look Y2K, they're coming back and now they're bundling because they realize I have more. So I've seen a lot of Y2K bundles come through, which is pretty cool. I love seeing that. This is an item that sat a little bit longer than I would have liked. It sold towards the end of the 90 days. I had dropped the price on this one to around $58. I paid $7.99 for it. It is not a brand you want to memorize. It is just a style-based piece. But the dark colors, the baby doll neckline, the asymmetric details of this were just screaming whimsy goth. So I grabbed that one. And then I also sold this one, which is leaning more towards the like Y2K fairy aesthetic. And I included those keywords in my title. We got this one from the bins and priced this one at $34. The bundle as a whole sold for around $93 plus shipping. So both of these dresses, close to $100 plus shipping, both for style-based pieces and not brand-based, is just crazy to me that I'm able to do this. So I am really happy with those sales, and I'm telling you guys, style-based is taking over. Yes, I still get bolos and look for high sell-through rate brands, but it is so nice when I go to thrift stores and I'm not finding those that I still know I'm going to flip items quickly and be able to get stuff that's going to sell for quite a bit that nobody else looks for. If you haven't thought about style-based sourcing yet, I would definitely start, because even just learning the styles, the aesthetics, the keywords are also going to elevate your high sell-through rate bolo titles as well and help sell those faster. So I would definitely look into it. I've always been about keywords, but specifically the style aesthetics have been really helpful in my own business. All right, next up, this is a brand called Marathon Clothing. This was made by, I think it's Nipsey Hussle. I think it's an artist. I don't know, a celebrity. We got this from the bins, and this brand as a whole does not have a great sell-through rate. However, we really drilled down into the pieces that we have, and I recommend doing this with really anything that you are searching. I find this is where resellers go wrong, is they think they don't have valuable items and that they don't have a high sell-through rate item, but the truth is they just haven't drilled down far enough with the factors that they have in their piece to realize that it is a high sell-through rate item. So this one was a large size. It was the neutral color. It had the Crenshaw spell out, which apparently is popular in this brand. And so despite originally looking up Marathon Clothing hoodie or Marathon Clothing Crenshaw hoodie and seeing a terrible sell-through rate, we drilled down further into specific sizes, colors, and all of that. And I'm glad we picked this up. We listed it for $40. It did sell for our full asking price, and this one only took a couple of weeks to sell. Next up, another brand you may never have heard of. I know I hadn't. It is called the Norwegian, and I think this is a difficult one to memorize because, as you can see, it doesn't actually say it on the label, so you'll have to kind of memorize what that looks like. But this is the Norwegian one-piece jumpsuit. So One Piece is kind of known for this, and I think Norwegian is actually the style name. But One Piece jumpsuit in this specific style, very trendy, not a whole lot of information about it. So again, harder one to memorize. I would mostly memorize that label, and any kind of like full length one piece item I'm seeing, I'm always looking up because there are some kind of niche bolo brands in there. This one's also designed in Norway, so that would have also been an indicator to me to look that up. I listed this one for $35 because it had a few spots on it. Otherwise, I would have gone higher. And this one ended up selling for our full asking price of $35. We got this from the bins, and this one took a few months to sell. Next up, another bolo brand. This is a leggings brand that performs really well for me, but it is commonly overlooked. It is Finca. The reason it's overlooked is because usually there's no tags on the inside, and the only indicator is this little logo right here. And then sometimes it also says Finca on it, but good brand, pretty high sell-through rate. It really depends on the size and style you have, but I almost always see notice these just because of this like velvet detail here. Not all of the leggings are that way, but their sculpt leggings are, and I come across them fairly often and usually sell them for around $40, $50. These ones were the sculpt reversible leggings in a smaller size. We got these from the bins. I listed for $40. They sold for $40. This one took about a month to sell. All right, next up, one of my favorite brands is LL Bean. You guys are going to see a lot of LL Bean today. I sell so much LL Bean. We're in a very mountainous region, and then some of my wholesalers are also in an area where LL Bean is abundant, and I honestly just love selling it, both bread and butter, and also they have tons of bolos within the brand. Specifically, the men's pieces perform better, and then also specifically like the outerwear stuff, and that's what you'll see in today's video. So this one is a men's mountain Sherpa vest. They do have specific style names, and I find that can make a really big difference in comps versus just searching like fleece vest. So keep that in mind with LL Bean. You can easily look up the style name by searching LL Bean space and then this number right here on Google, and then it usually tells you. This one I actually listed back in summer, so it sat because of that, and now that we're in colder weather, it moved. I listed this originally for around probably $55. It ended up selling on my dropped price of around $45. Next up, this is another bolo. I would say Crocs in general are a bolo. They have a very high sell-through rate for the brand as a whole. However, there is a lot available now, and so the average sale prices of most pre-owned Crocs usually pretty low these days. So it really takes a specific style, size, or color to bring up that ASP to make it worth it, in my opinion. But Crocs is a great brand to sell pre-owned. This one I actually paid up for at a regular thrift store. I paid $5.19, but I've sold this style so many times, and there's specific colors in the style that perform really well. This one was not one of the better colors, but it is called the Sanra Circle. And the Sanra Circle Croc style in general, very high sell-through rates, even in winter, right? We're in winter. Most people would not be buying these. That's how popular they are. These sold very quickly after getting them listed. There are some colors in this that can go for close to $100 pre-owned. So make sure you drill down if you have Crocs into the specific style and also the specific color and size. So these ones I listed for $35. They sold for my full asking price of $35. These ones actually sold the very next day after getting listed. Another style-based piece, this is just Jones, New York, not a brand you want to memorize. And pretty much, I'm going to quit saying that. All style-based pieces, for the most part, unless noted, brand does not matter. For those pieces, it is strictly all about the style. So this one is a silk vintage Y2K 90s grunge dress. This one was longer length. I included all those keywords I just said, fairy grunge, midi, silk, whimsy goth, Y2K, 90s, lots of stuff. It had a beautiful silhouette and some interesting ruffled sleeve details. I could also see this, and we probably had it in our description as well. I could see some keywords like witchy being really good, even holiday for this one with it being silk and a dressier item. I could see that as well. We listed this one for $35. It sold for our full asking price of $35. We got these from the bins, and it took about a month and a half to sell. Next up, another one that should not be selling in winter, but is selling in winter is Rip Skirt Hawaii. Another great brand. Sell-through rate's still pretty good on this despite being in the winter, and I'm still picking them up and they are still flipping. I'm just being mindful with my pricing. So in summer, I probably would have listed the skirt somewhere between $30 and $40. Since we're in winter and it's a summery item, I'm listing this item for $30 to make sure that it moves due to its decreased sell-through rate. Some of you have asked me about my decisions on, do I list items in season, out of season, how do I price and all of that. So I wanted to just dive into that a little bit. So Rip Skirt Hawaii, great brand still. Well, they're known for their hook and loop wrap style skirts that you can throw on and wear casually or even throw on over a swimsuit. They're very convenient and people love them. So got this one, listed this for $30. It sold for my full asking price of $30. I paid $6, I believe, in wholesale, and this one actually only took 1 day to sell. Next up, this one is a style-based piece. This is Guess. Some Guess pieces, if they are Y2K and they truly fit the aesthetic, can perform well. Like it might be a brand you want to look for in Y2K stuff. This one was a pretty basic men's zip cardigan. It was Y2K though, which I think helped to elevate the value. I listed this very bread and butter pricing, got it from the bins, listed for 25, sold on an offer to watcher for 21. I used keywords like preppy, academia, and university. Next up, this is an Affliction shirt. I still love the brand Affliction. It flips so quickly for me. I just have to make sure to price it pretty competitively to get it to move, but it's always a quick flip and I always get excited when I find it. This one is a men's burnout hoodie. I listed this for $30. It took a few months to sell, but it ended up selling for my full asking price of $30 and I paid $4.49. This is another great bread and butter quick flip for me. I've mentioned this a lot of times. I come across a lot of Nike, don't pick up a whole lot. But one thing I do like getting in Nike that is very bread and butter are men's sweatpants. I can flip those things all day long. So as long as they're in good condition, I can usually sell them for about $25. So these are the Club Fleece. I have sold these so much, like I already have the style name memorized, and you can too. So men's Nike sweatpants, great bread and butter item to flip. You just want to make sure you price again pretty competitively because there's a lot of them out there. These ones were fleece lined. I listed for $25 and they sold for my full asking price of $25. These ones only took a few days to sell. All right, another style-based piece. This is American Eagle. I do like finding Y2K American Eagle. I do think that is a brand that I seek after in Y2K pieces. I definitely do not pick up everything vintage American Eagle or vintage Y2K, only specific pieces, but I do come across a lot of it and you'd be surprised at how much you can sell some of them for. I'll show you a few today. This is a pretty plain tank top. It's got a little bit of a lace trim at the top. This one was actually 2010. So like on the cusp of not being Y2K anymore. And we put 2010 in the title. I also used some keywords like coquette and then lace trim and bow. I listed this tank top for $30 plus shipping. I paid $4.99 at a thrift store. It sold for my full asking price of around that $30, and this one only took a month to sell. Next up, another style base. This one is completely unbranded. This one actually was probably a slip, and we marketed it as a tank top. And you can see it's kind of asymmetric. It has sheer lacy details. It even has some beading. Great factors for a whimsy goth or Y2K fairy style piece. So I listed accordingly and listed this for $30. This one ended up selling for my full asking price of $30. I paid $4.99 at a thrift store, and this one only took a couple of weeks to sell. I get so excited, you guys. I get so excited about the unbranded items that flip in just like, even if it were to flip in like 3 months within 90 days, which is, you know, what we're all hoping for, 100% sell-through rate within 90 days, for something unbranded to flip in days or weeks or even months is just crazy to me. I love it. I get so excited. All right, next up we have another unbranded item. This one is a red lacy sheer halter top. I use keywords like whimsy goth, vampire, romantic, and sheer. I listed this one for $25. Picked this up at the bins as well, and this sold for a full asking price of $25. This one took a few months to sell. All right, this one was a pretty quick flip. This was something I was testing out. This is the brand The Great, which if you've been reselling for longer than like a couple years, you know that this used to be like a huge bolo brand that everybody was looking for. Not so much anymore. The sell-through rate is much, much slower, but I got excited when I came across it. When I did comps, I was like, womp womp, not so great. But I actually saw this particular style had sold quite a bit. This like structured cap sleeve look seemed very trendy to me, so I did a little bit more digging, and it still didn't have the best sell-through rate, but I, again, competitively priced to move it, and I used some really great strong keywords to move these more minimalist basic items like this, and I just tested it out in my store, and it worked. So here was my title, The Great Women's Burnout Cotton Cap Sleeve Top, size 2, which is a US size medium, gray, cotton, and quiet luxury. Oh, we have cotton twice. Cool, cool, cool. I'll be getting with my listers about that. But we could have used some other keywords for this, but quiet luxury was really the one that I wanted to use, and pricing competitively. So listed this for $25. It sold within just a couple of weeks for my full asking price of $25. So I feel pretty confident with that flip. Next up, this one's not unbranded, but it is just a very cheap brand called Cider, completely a style-based piece. This one is like a corsety type top. I use keywords like coquette, corset, angel core, renaissance, tons of stuff. Listed this one for $25 and it sold for my full asking price of $25. I paid $5 and this one took a couple of months to sell. Another unbranded one. This one is a fishnet type top, pink, neon. I used lots of keywords in this one, cyber goth, emo, grunge, disco. Listed this one for $25 as well, sold for my full asking price of $25. I picked it up at the bins, and I know I said my average cost of goods is $1.50, but honestly, stuff like this, like not even a quarter. It's so lightweight. It's almost free. So I love padding my sales with items like this because I mean, I can find so much of it. Nobody picks it up. It's great. $25 full asking price. This one took a couple of months to sell. This one was also an item that took a little bit longer to sell than I would have liked, but I still thought it was worth mentioning. This is something I like to do in plus sizes and factor stack. I've mentioned before, but 3X is one of my best selling sizes in plus sizes. When I pair that on top of a full button shirt, even better. When it's print, this one's floral print, even better. When it's longer sleeve, this one's 3/4 sleeve, even better. So lots of factor stacking in this piece. I ended up dropping the price because it didn't sell within 90 days to around $24 and it sold for $24 plus shipping. I paid $4.99 at a thrift store. Here's another style-based piece. This is just Ann Taylor Loft. This is another baby doll Y2K top. This one, I use some keywords like dark romantic. I listed this one for $30. It sold for an offer to watcher for $25 and I paid $6. This one also took a couple of months to sell. All right, this one is by the brand Athleta. I really don't pick up a whole lot of Athleta anymore, but similar to Nike, I do know there's some bolos and like certain styles that perform better than others in Athleta. This one's a very old label, but anytime I see in any athletic brand this like 2-in-1 skirt where it looks like there's leggings underneath and it's a skirt, I always look those up almost every time. They have a great sell-through rate. So we got these. These are called the Batona 2-in-1 skirt crop leggings. Listed this for $30. We got it from the bins. It sold on an offer to watcher for $25 and it only took 1 day to sell, which is pretty cool. Here's another American Eagle item. However, this one is actually a men's American Eagle item. It was not true Y2K, but it did have a Y2K look to it. So we include a Y2K in the title. This one also had multiple spots of discoloration. So I priced accordingly at $25. I paid $4.99 and it sold for my full asking price of $25. This one took about a month and a half to sell. All right, this one should look familiar to you. This one took about 90 days to sell, but I showed this in that trunk thrift haul that we did. This is the brand Laura Ashley. I don't pick up a lot of this, especially modern. However, this one had some great factor stacking pieces. You know, when you just look at an item, you're like, that's probably good, even though it might not be a brand that you regularly get. This was one of those pieces for me. So lots of factor stacking, full length sleeves, big like oversized balloon sleeves. It was linen. It was bright multicolor floral. It was a size large, all great things. I did the same thing in my search that I told you about that marathon clothing hoodie. And I really drilled down to the factors that I had because I just knew it was a great piece. And I actually found a great sell-through rate when I included all of those factors. So it takes a little bit more digging, but then you don't, miss on all of these everyday pieces that you're walking right by. I listed this one for $30. It sold on an offer to watcher for $25. Again, this took about 3 months to sell, which is my goal. My goal is less, but that's my max that I'm hoping for. And I originally paid $5 at the thrift store. All right, next up, this is another one that took a little bit while to sell. I'm actually surprised at how little I got for it, but I like to share this with you too. This is another American Eagle item. This is a Y2K baby doll tank top. I mean, it's got all the right factors going for it. So I priced it really, really high originally. And it sat a little past 90 days. And so we dropped the price and added best offer. After I did that, I got an offer for 30 and I went ahead and accepted and moved on. I think this is a great lesson for all resellers is at some point you're going to realize that it's just not worth fighting over. And if something's been sitting in your inventory for a while, for longer than you plan to, it's just worth it to accept any offer and get that item moving. I was looking at this like, why did this not sell? I'm still looking at it thinking it's got everything. It's got everything it needs. It should have sold for more, but it didn't. And I'm going to move on. Take the lesson or leave it. But after so many years of reselling, my number one priority is churning through items and keeping my cash flow going. And so I let this go for $30, which is still an incredible price for a pre-owned American Eagle tank top, but I didn't hold out for more because it was time to let it go. So this one took a little past 90 days. I paid $4.99 and I accepted that offer of $30. Next up, this is another plus size piece that I picked up. This is a size 2X, but it is the brand Susan Graver, which is a pretty decent brand to look for in plus sizes. Full button, holiday colors, long sleeve, listed for $25. It sold on an offer to watcher for $21, and this one only took a few weeks to sell. This is another completely style-based piece. This is a long length skirt. I've also been enjoying skirts in style-based sourcing, particularly midi and maxi length. This one was just pretty plain black skirt, but it had asymmetric details, which was the deciding factor for me. I included keywords like fairy grunge, whimsy goth, and witchy, listed just for $25 because it was more plain, and got this from the bins. It sold for my full asking price of $25, and this one only took a few weeks to sell. Another completely unbranded style-based piece. I listed this with the keywords Y2K, fairy, and Regency. I listed this for $25 and it sold for my full asking price of $25. This one only took 5 days to sell, so that was a super quick bins flip. I'm telling you guys, this lightweight stuff, so good for your return on investment because you're paying so little. I know you may only be listing them for $20, $25, sometimes like $35, but they're so lightweight at the bins. And even if they're not the bins, these kind of items end up in sale days at thrift stores. They're so cheap, they're so easy to find, and you can flip them so quickly. Another great bread and butter is Chaps long length dresses, so the maxi dresses. This one is very tropical, very spring summer. Um, so I kept that in mind. I only paid $5 for this, and I asked myself, do I have enough room to lower the price to be competitive and move this out of season item? And I did. So normally in summer, I list these for about $35. I listed this one for $25. Again, because we are in colder weather now, and we were going out of colder weather when I got it, or going into colder weather when I got it. This one took a few months to sell, but it did sell for an offer to watcher for $21. And again, good bread and butter. If I can get these for a couple bucks, I do like flipping them. All right, next up is Poshmark. I did have some pretty good sales on Poshmark. Like I said, a lot of them were more of my older items selling for bread and butter pricing, but I did have also a few that sold for quite a bit. So this is one of them. This is one of my favorite categories to look for. It is long length dressier coats, both men's and women's. This one is a women's by the brand Sam Edelman. And this is a wool long line coat. I use keywords for all of these like professional, career, business, things like that. This one ended up selling for $50. I also think these can be great. You can consider them factor stacking. You can consider them style-based pieces, but these longer length wool pea coats every year does really well for me. And I can usually flip them between 40 and 60, which is more than bread and butter, right? That's incredible. You have to have the storage space to store them in case they sit, but just make sure you have ones with great factors so they don't. Next up, this is an Abercrombie & Fitch men's pair of sweatpants similar to Nike. I always pick up Abercrombie sweatpants for men. The vintage ones can go for quite a bit depending on what you have. This one was a pair of Y2K ones with a spell out. I listed for $40 and they did sell for $40. This is another style-based item, although this brand did seem to have a more elevated sell-through rate. It was called Orchard Corset. I think maybe this is frequently used for like cosplay costumes, Renaissance festivals, things like that. So I think the brand's slightly more elevated than usual. But this is a faux leather, it was very heavy, corset top with a lace back grommet details. I listed this for, I think, $35, and Nifty sends out automatic offers for me, and someone accepted an offer of $30. I used lots of keywords for this. I would say festival, Renaissance, and steampunk were some of our best ones. All right, this item I've actually had, excuse the language, close your eyes. This one was one I've had for a while. This was actually in Joe's vintage t-shirt collection. When it comes to some of the vintage stuff, like you just have to know it's probably going to sit longer than 90 days. But if you're willing to wait it out for the right buyer, you can make some serious cash on it. And comedian shirts, vintage, is a category I definitely look for in terms of pop culture. So this was a George Carlin t-shirt. It was single stitch. It was extremely rare. I think I actually originally had this listed for closer to $200 and accepted an offer of $121. This one did have some all over discoloration, but again, for the right person, this was an extremely rare, valuable, nostalgic item. All right, next up, I like finding these leggings when I can factor stack them with larger sizes. This one is the brand CVG, which stands for Constantly Varied Gear. This one was a bunch of sloths. They have all kinds of crazy prints, and it was a size extra large. Again, factor stacked in my search. If you just search CVG leggings, you're not going to see a great sell-through rate. You got to drill down and know that you have factors that increase value. These ones ended up selling for my expected sale price of $25. This is a Lily Pulitzer sweater. I just wanted to show you that Lily Pulitzer makes more than just the bright multicolored dresses, so you can keep an eye out for it. This one had a really good sell-through rate, and it was a size extra large called the Jaquetta sweater. This one I ended up selling on an offer for 25. This is Soft Surroundings. I don't pick up a whole lot of this brand anymore, but I do like finding their longer length dresses. And this one was also really gorgeous with a velvet burnout, which is very trendy right now. It was also a size large. I listed this for, I think, around 55 and sent out offers to watchers, and somebody accepted an offer of $46. This is another bread and butter category I look for: men's vintage camo t-shirts, short sleeve, long sleeve, has to have an interesting print and actually be vintage. They usually flip for me. So I consider these style-based pieces. I actually did look up this brand Liberty to make sure it wasn't like something that was super valuable that I was missing. It wasn't, did not have a good sell-through rate, but I can, again, usually flip these for about 25. So I listed mine for around there, and somebody accepted an offer of $22. It was also a really, really quick flip. Okay, next up, another item I like finding, bread and butter wise, is Patagonia. Their Capeline stuff. It's super lightweight. I find a lot of people pass on it at the bins. I don't know if they know what it is, but these Capeline Cool base layers perform very well for me. This one is a hoodie, so a little bit increased value. It ended up selling for $26. Here's another great factor stacking piece. I don't get a whole lot of Calvin Klein, but during fall and winter, their packable down jackets perform really well for me and always have. This is a women's Calvin Klein packable down jacket in a size medium. I listed this for around 40 and it ended up selling on an offer on Poshmark for $35. Another long length skirt. This one's actually by a pretty decent bolo brand called CP Shades, but more importantly, great factor stacking in this piece. So longer length, very grunge details, whimsy goth, tiered, black, witchy, all kinds of great things. So it's even better when you have a good brand with a great style, because that's like, in my opinion, almost a guaranteed sale and much higher ASP. And this would be the case with this one. I think I listed this for around $75 and accepted an offer of $60. Here's another bread and butter style-based piece. This is just by the brand Garage. It was a strapless, open back, asymmetric, lacy top. I listed this for $30 on Poshmark and accepted an offer of $20. More LL Bean coming your way. I had a wholesaler, as I mentioned before, that provided me with a lot of LL Bean. And so a lot of these actually came from the same batch. This is an LL Bean men's Sherpa lined Scotch long sleeve buffalo plaid shacket. This colorway and plaid, a lot of people call buffalo plaid, and I do think it's worth putting in your title because people are searching for this black and red plaid pattern, especially for family photos. This ended up selling on an offer for $35. Another LL Bean item. This one is a men's long sleeve polo shirt. Anytime I see LL Bean with this little patch logo here, it's usually a pretty good item, but again, make sure to look everything up. This ended up selling for an offer of $32. Also along the same lines, I find it quite a bit of Patagonia, but leave behind most of it. I do not, however, leave behind the outerwear. This is a puffer vest, and this one had real down feathers in it. We listed this one for probably around $75, $65 and accepted an offer of $51. Another LL Bean item, this one I was lucky enough to get new with tags. You can see the retail's $99 on this. This is called the Mountain Classic Puffer. Very high sell-through rate on this, and even though it retailed for $99, I was still able to sell it within about a week of listing for $68, which is not quite retail, but like pretty darn close, right? If that tells you how popular some of these LL Bean pieces can be. And last one on Poshmark before I dive into a handful of the Depop sales. This is the brand Hill House. They're most well known for their nap dress. You can see it's on the tag here. This one is the mini version of that in a very, very teeny tiny size extra, extra small. So I had to keep that in mind with pricing, but I do love selling these dresses. They they do have a pretty good sell-through rate, especially if you can get a better size or length. So this one was called the Naya Nap Midi Dress. Again, very small size. I included keywords like fairy, princess, and coquette, and listed for around 45. Nifty sends out offers for me automatically, and somebody accepted for $38. All right, finishing up with the Depop sales. I have a really good mix of stuff. You guys are going to see some bolo brands, surprisingly modern bolo brands. So it's not always just style-based vintage stuff. It's also, again, the same buyers on Depop are the same buyers on eBay, are the same buyers on Poshmark, with few differences in between. But generally, if something sells well on one platform, it's also going to sell well on the other. It's just which ones is it going to sell on the fastest. That's why I love cross-posting. All right. This may look familiar because we've actually found two of the same style-based dress in slightly different shades, and they both sold pretty quickly. This is completely unbranded dress, brown, asymmetric details. This one, we use some keywords like whimsy goth and fairy grunge. This one I listed, I think, for around $60 and accepted an offer of $50 on Depop. By the way, I also have Nifty sending out offers on Depop on all platforms for me as well. And on Depop specifically, I'm having it automatically relist for me because Depop has different time frames as to when they consider items to be stale, and it's harder for me to manually get to them because the time frame is much shorter. So I'm having Nifty auto recreate, which means end and sell similar, to refresh the item and make it look new. And that's also been working really well for us. So this one sold within 13 days of being listed on Depop. I'll just point out again, like, take a look at some of the boosting stats here, how many views or clicks it got. This thing got a lot of attention. And like I said, this one sold for $50. All right, next up, this top, I made sure to do a screenshot for you guys. Let me look. So this top, look how many views, almost 25,000 views, over 1,000 clicks. And then this says 99 plus, but I'm actually able to see the exact number on my app, 423 likes when this top sold. So that tells me I need to be, paying attention to the factors and details on this top. I've sold many things like this in the past, but this one in particular just like took off. So I'm paying attention to it. This was a Bisou, new with tags, dead stock, new with tags, baby doll top. I think the color in combination with all of the other things was really what sold it. I used Y2K beaded, baby doll, fairy, coquette, and sheer. I listed this at $40. It actually sold for my full asking price of $40. Like I said, 423 likes is so crazy. So keep your eye out for this. Again, just because Depop is known for being a style-based platform does not mean that you cannot sell items like these on eBay. I do it every day. And it also doesn't mean that you can't take things that sell on eBay and also sell it on Depop, which you'll see here in a second. But first, this is another style-based one. This one sold within just 21 days of being listed. I actually had this listed on eBay and Poshmark. As I said, I haven't been consistent until these past couple months with Depop. And because of that, not all of my items are listed on Depop. So I've been like, as I can, just cross-posting stuff over. So this item actually sat on eBay and Poshmark for a little bit. And when I finally cross-posted it to Depop, it performed really well. This one had a lot of spots, like a lot of paint spots, some distressing. I got it because of the Y2K tribal dragon print, which is pretty sought after for Y2K stuff. I listed this for $40. I received an offer for $34, which I went ahead and accepted. All right, this next one is a bolo brand. This is something that I would have expected to sell on eBay, but it sold within just 2 weeks on Depop. It is a Portland Leather Company bag. If you don't know this brand, very high sell-through rate in most of their stuff. They're mostly well known for their handbags. They make backpacks, all kinds of stuff. I personally own one of the backpacks and I love it. They're so durable. So I came across this at a thrift store. I think I paid $9.99 for this. I listed it for $60. This is a mini crossbody tote. It was much smaller than usual. If you find the larger bags, like you can get some big money for it. But surprisingly, this sold within just 2 weeks on Depop for an offer of $40, which I accepted. Okay, this one is a style-based piece. This is by the brand Bailey Rose. This one was a very like croppy Renaissance coquette style top, just screaming like all of the aesthetics. It could go into so many places. We use keywords like Ren Fair, Fairy Grunge, and Renaissance. I listed this for $35. This sold within just 8 days of being listed. It had a lot of attention as far as views, clicks, and likes go, and this ended up selling for my full asking price of $35. One thing I like about pretty much all platforms, but if one item is getting a lot of attention, depending on the platform will send out notifications to your buyer to be like, hey, someone just made an offer on this, or hey, make an offer before it's gone. And so it's only in your benefit to have a lot of attention on an item, both for the search algorithm and also potentially them informing your buyers that somebody else is about to snatch it up, and it creates that FOMO, which is why I really like Depop, because it's like significantly higher views than other platforms, and it's been really helpful to come to consistent sales much faster than some of the other platforms. All right, next up, another completely style-based piece. This is the brand Kashik. This is a plus size women's slip type top, baby doll top. Again, great unique features for this one as well. This one I listed for $30 and it sold for my full asking price of $30. This one actually sold in just 6 days and again had a ton of attention. Something else I like about Depop, and I've gone into it on other videos with a full breakdown of like what my net profits were, but their fees are so low. Like, I don't know if you saw on my report, but I spent so little in fees on here because even though I'm boosting all of my items, unless it sells on a boosted listing, I don't get charged the boosted fee. And I think I only sold like 3 out of the 19 sold on a boosted listing, but they all got the benefits of being boosted. So most of the time I'm getting all this attention on the items and boosting sales, but because it's not selling on the boosted listing, I'm not having to pay that fee. So it's really, really awesome. And you might think like, oh man, like you're only making 25, $30, but I'm keeping much more of it than on eBay and Poshmark. So something to consider if you're thinking about getting on another platform. I know a lot of you are because you told me based off of a lot of the platform changes that are going on. And I definitely think Depop is a good one. All right, another bolo brand that sold, not something you would think would sell on Depop. It is a Huckberry item, Flint and Tender. These are a pair of men's pants, tan pants. These actually sold for my full asking price of $40. They only took 7 days to sell. And honestly, they didn't even have that many views compared to how long it had been listed, and they sold for full asking price. So anything can happen. Next up, we listed this American Eagle pair of micro mini shorts. I listed this for $30. These were a Y2K, size 0, that micro mini short being the key. I listed these for $30 and they sold on an automatic offer sent out for $22.50. All of these are plus shipping. By the way, I have my buyers pay for shipping. And this one sold within just 7 days of being listed. And then lastly, I sold another Y2K mall brand item. This one is an Aeropostale men's hoodie. This one had a ton of attention. I should look actually to see how many likes it actually had, because I'm seeing that there was 15K views, 692 clicks. It says 99 plus. Let's see what the actual likes were for this item. 165. Okay, not as much as the Bisou dress, but still a lot. 165 likes. This sold within just 29 days of being listed for my full asking price. And yeah, I've sold stuff like this again on eBay. I've sold it on Poshmark, and I've now sold it on Depop. So all these style-based things, like whatever platform you're on, you guys can totally do it, and definitely don't leave money on the table. All right, you guys, so that's it for what sold last week. I hope that you enjoyed watching. If you are not already and you would like to be, consider subscribing down below and hitting the notification bell. If you do that and hit all, you'll be notified every single time I post one of these videos. If you want to stay up to date with what is selling for me and what you could possibly flip for yourself, I do them every week. I'd love to have you here. Comment down below and let me know how your sales are going, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.